My name is Robert Davis. I'm a political science major and a history minor.
My name is Tim Locker. I am a senior at NKU, majoring in history.
My name is Holland Rains, and I am a senior electronic media and broadcasting student.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Andrew Walker. Je suis en majeur en anglais et mon optionnel est français.
My name is Lauren Barnett. I'm majoring in public relations and I'm technically in my first year, but I'm a transfer student from Jamaica.
My name is Tyler Schuler. I am a fourth year EMB student, marketing minor, and I'm going to France.
I chose to go to France because obviously I was studying French, but I've also always had like a fascination with France ever since I was about 10 years old. It's just been a really interesting country to me. I'm terrified of flying. I don't even like going to the store, let alone another country, and I'm not very confident in my French skills, so there's a lot I'm scared of. So it's going to be a massive difference than everything I've experienced so far.
I wanted to go to Paris because I've always just been like infatuated with like French people, and their culture was just something very different, and it's not something that you see every day. And I don't know anything about the World War I or World War II, and my husband was in the military, so I thought this would be a good just two-in-one. I get to experience another culture and I learn about something that I'm really interested in learning about.
Going abroad is just really important in general, and especially I feel like while I'm in college, I might as well take that opportunity while I have it. But it's also a really interesting topic of why we're going.
And do you know Somme, the battle we're gonna go to?
Yeah.
That's actually trench light, what they used in the trenches. It doesn't have the original glass bulb on it, which would be right there, because most of those were broke.
I've always been in World War II. Like, I've always loved the facts, the stories, and this trip, everything that it has associated with like the landings at D-Day, World War I sites, World War II sites, really stood out to me, and just what it stands for in general. I think it's going to be an awesome trip.
I got to meet Dr. Williams. He actually, during the last semester before his retirement, I took his World War I class, so getting to meet a man on the inside and who also encouraged study abroad so much definitely further encouraged me to pursue it. And being a big student of history, I've always kind of had a passion for it, especially World War II. So France, especially around the Normandy area, and where we'll be visiting a couple different places, just always definitely appealed to me, just more like a boyhood dream.
The first pleasure of teaching this course is I get to teach it with my colleague Francois Lois, who is a marvelous historian and a great Frenchman who is able to interpret and explain to students about French culture and ways that enriches their experience enormously. And I could never think of doing this without his expertise and his assistance and his good nature.
I think, okay, how can I top this? I mean, it's really about the pleasure of being able to teach the subject on location. And there's also a great deal of self-discovery that takes place. Even though a good part of the week will be very structured, there will be time for students to do exploration on their own. And I think students also enjoy this a great deal.
Yes, and I think also just taking the time to be overseas in a thoughtful way leads to an enormous broadening of students' international perspective. Even in just 9 days, I've seen so much change occur with them saying, and they come back, I just see the world differently now. And it's been so helpful to step outside my culture and experience another culture and gain from that not only an appreciation for what makes things different there, but makes me more thoughtful about my own society. And I guess the chief revelation for many of our students is that day on the Somme battlefield brings home to them the reality of World War I in a way they've never experienced it before. As you look across cemetery after cemetery after cemetery, where the British soldiers fell to the murderous fire of the machine guns by the Germans, it brings home with a wallop the impact and the suffering and sacrifice and bravery of the people who were involved in all this fighting.
I think, you know, in terms of expectation, they have high expectations of Paris, they have high expectations of Normandy, and it's not that they have low expectation of the Somme, it's just they don't know what to expect. And I think grasping what happened there, I mean, you know, if I can be so colloquial, it blows their mind.
Okay, so can I help you get your bearings here? The British front line was just down the ridge a little ways, maybe like 50 yards. This was the German front line running along the ridge here. And so this was the site that they decided to blow this big hole in the German line, and hoping that then the British troops could rush around and through this. The explosion occurred, and it did, of course, destroy the Germans who were in this position. But there were German reserves right behind here who came scuttling up as soon as the explosion was over and manned that side of the crater. So as the British came up here after 7:30 and tried to take control of this crater, they were picked off as they came across the lip of the crater. And then fighting occurred even in the crater and around its edges. And the British therefore really didn't gain anything by this, because the Germans were able to reinforce this line in time to keep it from becoming a breakthrough site for the British troops.
Ça vous dérange si je vous demande votre nom également?
Donc moi c'est Ludovic Delsal.
Ludovic Delsal, d'accord. Moi je m'appelle François. Enchanté. Enchanté. Donc, Ludovic, vous faites ça, vous disiez 5 tombes et demie par jour à peu près?
5,5 par jour, on fait ça à longueur d'année. Là on est à 5 parce qu'on a plus de trajets en route.
Ouais.
Mais en général c'est 5,5 par jour.
Donc, et ça vous occupe toute l'année?
Toute l'année.
C'est incroyable en effet, ouais. Alors qu'est-ce que vous pensez justement de votre métier?
Bah moi personnellement déjà bon, je suis passionné par tout ce qui rapproche la pierre, donc niveau technique tout ça, bon, c'est ma passion, et après bah, je suis fier aussi de pouvoir faire ça, c'est pour rendre hommage aussi aux soldats qui ont combattu pour nous, et le fait de rénover les stèles pour eux et leurs familles, personnellement moi je suis fier de ce que je fais, quoi.
Et vous travaillez donc dans toute la Somme, dans toute la France? Toute la France.
Normandie, on va jusque dans le sud de la France, ça peut nous arriver de dépasser les frontières par rapport à la Belgique, l'Allemagne, mais en général on est plus en France, mais on fait partout. Il n'y a que 14 graveurs en France.
Que 14 graveurs. Et d'autres personnes, n'est-ce pas, sont responsables de l'entretien des parterres, des...
Ouais, là après c'est d'autres registres de métiers, il y a les jardiniers, il y a les maçons, mais nous on fait que la gravure.
D'accord. Les maçons sont responsables de l'entretien des murs, sans doute?
Les murs, tout ce qui est maçonnerie, les réparations, parce qu'il y a des stèles aussi qui peuvent être changées. Après, il y a les jardiniers qui s'occupent de la pelouse, les plantes, les bordures autour des stèles.
Donc c'est vraiment un effort extraordinaire.
Il y a pas mal de boulot, on n'a pas à se plaindre.
Je vous remercie beaucoup pour ce que vous faites.
Merci à vous, de rien.
Learning so much, I knew nothing really about the various regiments, the various groups that fought here in all of Somme, and now learning who they are, going to their graves, going through the trenches, you know, it really shows. I understand now why it's called World War I.
it's here, especially on this battlefield, that you really do see what a trench looked like. And imagine, because we're across no man's land, what it would have been like to try and get across this land with German machine gunners behind me here, mowing down men as they came. Inevitably, I end up in a cemetery like the one behind me, filled with a sense of sorrow, reverence for the men who died here, and a sense of the remarkable peace now, but of course, utter contrast to what it was for the men who were here a century ago.
Everything's just been a lot more emotional and surreal than I expected it to be. We're looking at every mortar hole and all of this, and to realize that that took however many lives, it's crazy to think that this was someone's reality. It's easy for us to look and think, oh yeah, that's a part of history, it was part of this war, but that was someone's entire life that it cost them, and this was where they spent all of their time. It was pretty powerful.
This program attracts people primarily, I think, for the World War II part. Because most Americans have a very vivid sense of what World War II was about, especially as regards the Normandy landing. They've seen so many movies.
So all along this road, paratroopers took cover in the ditches, dug foxholes, and then throughout the day, carried out assaults. And then what they eventually were able to do was just simply encircle the farm. So we are now standing right outside of Sainte-Mère-Église, and Sainte-Mère-Église was one of the top objectives of the 101st Airborne. Because it stands at the intersection of National 13, a road that connects Cherbourg to the north, and Cherbourg is a major harbor port that the Allies were hoping to capture to be able to land men and supplies in the days after June 6, 1944. So the town itself is fairly insignificant. It's a small, sleepy town, which would have had would not enjoy the notoriety that it has today had it not been for the unfortunate fact that it sits on top of National 13. But here also, this small road and this small bridge across this also rather apparently insignificant river is also a connection to National 13. And this was going to be the road of the invasion for the troops that landed at Utah Beach. And also the airborne forces that had landed on either side of the river. So the capture here of this bridge, however puny it may seem, was absolutely critical to the invasion. Okay. And hence the reason the Germans had perfectly understood this fact and had therefore fortified the manor that stands behind us, this large farmhouse, to prevent the Allies the use of this bridge. And that's why hundreds died for its capture and for its defense. Well, one of the things I hope that the students got away from visiting those various D-Day sites is a greater appreciation for the complexity of the operation itself, its scale of it, its strategic importance. I'm also hoping that students get a better appreciation for the toll taken on Normandy, which is something that is usually glossed over. Normandy has been put on the map, the history map, by the events, and I think that Normandy, despite the huge suffering of the region and of its population, wants to show to the world what happened here. So I think there's something very deliberate, very conscious about not fixing everything and living it as is as much as possible. And I think it's, I find it wise to do so.
See, I've only seen pictures and seen on television, Pointe du Hoc and Omaha and, all these different sites. So seeing it in person, definitely, it brings it to life. So I definitely appreciate the experience and what I learned from that. And I think just with the remains of all the German fortifications there, you can definitely tell that, history was made there. I'm just so thankful to be here and have this experience.
That's a really good question. If I could say something to my future self, I would probably say congratulations. You went on a study abroad by yourself with people that you don't know, and you're leaving from a country that's strange to you. You're a rock star.
Well, I would say to my future self, Tyler, I hope you didn't worry so much while you were over there about what you're going to get done and what you're going to do when you get back. I really hope that you got more out of this than you were expecting to. And I hope you kept an open eye and an open ear and really try to learn something that you didn't really know before you went.
I'll say to my future self, I hope you didn't have an aneurysm. I hope that you packed ibuprofen as well as your heartburn medication. And that I hope you brought enough socks for the trip. Other than that, take it easy. Don't go towards the video work like going too hard at it. Try to take a step back and just experience. Take in the fact that you're a million miles away from anywhere that you normally would be.
Definitely future Robert, make sure you pack everything that you're supposed to. And I just want to hope that you don't feel like any moment was wasted. Just live, breathe every second of it as best you can, just to make sure you got the full experience. Because it was something that you'll never forget, and you'll always tell other people about when you look back on it and say, yeah, I spent a week in France, and it was probably one of the better weeks of my entire life. That's what my hope would be, and that's what I hope I can say, because I spent that week in France, learning all these great things that I've always wanted to learn more about and visit there in person, that I went back again and again, and I went to more places because of it. So hopefully, just has a positive impact on my life going forward from there.
Future Andrew, I hope you had fun. I hope you tried to speak as much French as you possibly could and only relied on English when it was absolutely necessary. Bon voyage.